Hello everybody, welcome back to a new video. It's been a while, so I apologize for that, but happy 2026 to you all. I wanted to make a video to talk about a cool project / challenge thing that I did throughout 2025, which I call the Daily Album Challenge. It's kind of as the name sounds. I listened to one new album every single day in 2025 to get up to a total of 374 albums because I did repeat some days. So it was one new album every single day all the way through, trying to give it as much attention as I could with my life and stuff like that. It was a great challenge, and I know I'm using the word challenge here in a liberal way where I'm not like saying it was the toughest thing ever, it was so hard, so don't screenshot this and put this on Twitter, I don't care. But it was more of a challenge in that like I try to challenge myself and encourage myself to discover as much new music as I could. I really wanted to find some new things. I felt like my taste was a little bit stale, and I had a lot of free time, at least at the beginning of the year. So I wanted to really get into more music discovery, and I think I did. I think I succeeded in discovering a lot of cool new things that I might not have if I didn't do this whole project. So I wanted to share some of my favorites with you guys today. I basically made like a little slideshow here to encourage more view time and to help people with ADHD. The timestamps will be in the description for each month. Between each month, I'm going to have a break where I'm going to talk about one part of the project, whether it's like a logistical thing or a graph, or talk about my process, things like that, to hopefully keep it interesting. And there will be some fun videos and GIFs on the sides for you guys to watch in case you're losing interest. So all that is there. Let's get right into it. So we begin on a very high note here in January. I'm going to talk about the best of each month, then the worst thing I listened to, and then I'm going to talk about just some other notes and fun stuff from the month. And we begin with Geese, 3 Neat Country. I had listened to Heavy Metal by Cameron Winter a few weeks prior, and it was steadily becoming one of my favorite things. I had already cried to it a bunch of times. I was going through a lot of personal stuff at the time, and it really resonated with me. But I didn't even know that he was Geese, or like he was in Geese, until I listened to him and I gave it a few days. I was like, oh, this guy's in Geese, I should probably check that out. And so this was the first thing I listened to. I listened to it on a car ride back from Palm Springs, so it was a good environment, and it just became one of my favorite things that I have listened to. And spoiler alert, is the highest rated thing on here. I think it's the only 10 out of 10 that I listened to this year. So it's a great album. Combines a lot of really cool parts of indie rock and alt country and some punk too. So I highly recommend you check it out. I also really enjoyed Showbiz by Mike too, which came out this month. It was one of the first releases from 2025 that I listened to, and it's just a fantastic kind of thesis of everything that he's been doing the past few years. It's getting lighter, it's getting airier and more fun, very catchy throughout, and it's one of his most solid bodies of work to this date for sure. Then we get to the worst that I listened to this year. I'm sorry, Lily, if you're watching this, but it's Beta by Peter Cat Recording Co. This was a recommendation that I got, and I thought I would enjoy it based on the genre tags. It had like indie-tronica and indie pop and stuff like that, which I do enjoy, but it was really a lot more than that. And by that I mean it has a lot of these big ideas and things that it wants to combine. It has like electronic parts, it has dance parts, it has traditional Indian folk music, it has indie pop, a little bit of rock too, some jazz in it, but none of them really meld to get together. It sounds like a lot of distinct ideas that could be cool on their own, but the songs are long and they don't really go anywhere. They just kind of go in waves where it's like they have one idea and then the next and then the next and the next, but they don't really combine them all in a cohesive way. So it was a bit of a mess to me. I think there are some cool ideas here and some potential, but it didn't really grab me. Then some other notes for January. We had some big risers for sure. Joni Mitchell Blue and Terza Devotion were 2 albums that I gave somewhat low scores at first too. I think I gave the Joni Mitchell like a 6 or 7 out of 10, and then Terza I gave a 5, but they're now up to like a 9 and an 8 respectively. I also got and I listened to a lot of great recommendations this month. It was the highest month for recommendations, meaning I listened to I think around 15 recommendations, and some of the best ones I got were Great Doubt by Astrid Sonne, Sun Tub by ML Buke, shout out to Bridget, and then the Lexa Gates album, Elite Vessel, also had Alice in Chains with Jar of Flies, and then Celestephone Paper Cut from Obit, which I actually got from TikTok, and I'll talk more about that right now. One of the main questions that I got from people in real life is, where do I find these albums? Where do I find what I'm going to listen to? Do I just choose one at random? Do I have like a database? And the main place that I went to was the Rate Your Music charts. Also a little bit of Album of the Year too, but mainly Rate Your Music, whether it was like the 2025 chart or the genre charts. I found a lot of cool things from there, ones that were older or had just come out recently, and it really gave me a good variety of taste and led me to things that I knew at the very least were going to be high quality. There is also the You Might Also Like feature on Apple Music, which is a superior service. I found these two right here, Nourished by Time and Pretty V, through this thing when I was looking at Cameron Winter's recommended things below heavy metal. These came up as ones that I might also like, and I found a lot of albums here through this feature. I also got a bunch from TikTok, Reels, and YouTube. I would just have my computer playing like a YouTube mix of songs, and if I liked one, I would listen to it. Things like Yola Tango and Grouper I found through that. I found Celestephone, which is the album on the left here, from a TikTok saying that he made music for like Roblox too. So that was cool. And then the Twine album, New Old Horse, I found from a TikTok that had like 30 likes of a live set that they did. So very cool stuff. If you get on that side of the music TikTok, you can find a really wide range of great music. And then lastly, of course, I got some recommendations from my friends. I put out a story in January and July on my personal Instagram being like, hey, send me stuff that you want me to listen to, and I tried really hard to get through all of them, and by that I mean if I didn't want to listen to a recommendation, I just didn't do it, which if I do this again, eventually I will get through all the recommendations, but I got through a majority of them. I got through a majority of them. Then we get to February, which my two favorite albums, I believe both came out in February. We have Venturing with Ghost Holding, which is Jane Remover's side project, more indie rock, slowcore, slacker rock focused. Some really great ideas here, and some of her best songs in the genre. It doesn't go as deep or as experimental as something like Census does, but it has a ton of great ideas here, and Something Has to Change is one of my favorite songs of the year. It's just very beautiful, and Jane's voice really stands out here a lot, and I really love it. Then we have Lucre, I don't know how to say it, by Dean Blunt and Elias Ronenfeld. A great album. I really enjoyed this. It's only 7 tracks, but that last track is one of my favorites of all time, and I think it does a great job of combining Dean's kind of sampling indie rock style with Elias's more trip-hoppy approach to music in a really interesting way, and I'm excited to see them work together more as time passes. In terms of the worst thing, there wasn't a lot of bad albums this month at all. In fact, there were a few 6s here and there, but this one was the lowest, I think, for me, and that's mainly because it had a lot of potential, but it didn't live up to it, and that is Wikipedia For the Rest of Your Life. I found this because it's in a similar vein to like a Jane Remover or Quonic, where it's a hyperpop adjacent artist doing like a indie rock thing, but it really doesn't have the same level of vocals or production that those last two do. It's kind of tinny at points where there's not really a lot in the mix besides the highs. It feels kind of washed out, and I think a lot more could have been done here to really flesh this out. So I see a lot of room here for growth, and I'm still excited to see what they release next, but I just didn't enjoy this how I thought I would. This month was really big for Rex too. I had like 12 recommendations that I listened to. Some of the big ones included Sayako with Melancholy Hot and Cold, and Courtney Barnett with Tell Me How You Really Feel. Both great albums. But I also heard T-Rex, Electric Warrior, and Whitney, Light Upon the Lake, which were all great albums. Shout out to Sabrina for 3 of those. And yeah, this month was one of the biggest for Rex because it was at the start of the year, so I had more to go through. I was getting them on a more consistent basis, and I had more of a desire to kind of check them out as time went on, and I got a little bit jaded with this, especially around the middle of the year where I had less time. I stopped doing Rex as much. I think there was a few months where I didn't do any recommendations, so apologies for that. Some other great albums include Shokunuff by OK Lou, Tracy Denim by Bar Italia, and then Driftwood self-titled, which you see below. Shout out to them. They're a local San Diego band, so please check them out. Then one of the big questions I got from people again in real life is like, where and when do I have the time to listen to these? I work at a school, technically part-time, but I'm here basically the whole day. And around this time of the year last year, I was working at a school full-time as a student teacher along with classes and stuff like that. During the summer, I have a camp job, so I work from like 7:30 to 5 each day. So trying to fit these in was tough, but I mainly did it when I was on walks or outside. I like to be in nature when I do listen to albums because it gives me something to do, like to look at, but I'm not distracted by like a bird in a tree or a great sunset. Instead, it more enhances the music. Some of them were night walks too, just like I had a spare half hour before bed and I was like, fuck it, I'll just go on a walk and listen to them. I know I'm privileged as a straight passing white guy to do that, so apologies if that is not in the cards. But when I didn't want to go for a walk, I also did a lot of albums when I was gaming or I was making art. Those are times when I'm doing something with my hands and I can focus on the game too, but I have the music there to accompany it. Found a lot of great projects by doing that as well. And then 2 other main times at the gym. I did that a lot at the start of the year until I realized that I actually hate doing like slower albums at the gym because it just makes my gym experience worse. So I save that for more like upbeat, hyper albums like the one by Sayako. And then I did the slowcore ones like when I was at home and I could listen to them and they were quieter and stuff like that. I did have to listen to a few when I was driving, so I still got a good experience because I have a good sound system. But there were times when I was like, I literally have no time today because I'm gonna get home at like midnight. Then we get on to March, which was an interesting month. It was not one of the best ones in terms of the quality of music, but it had a lot of really, really cool albums within it. Cindy Lee, Diamond Jubilee was my favorite. I listened to this on the drive to LA, and it was just fantastic for that vibe. It felt like the Dust Bowl, you know? Very old, very grimy, very dusty, as the name would imply, but still very beautiful as well. I love the production on this thing. It's fantastic. And I think that it really was a great vibe to do it while I was on like a road trip, quote unquote, because it just gave like this great atmosphere for this drive that I was on. I got it on vinyl. It's 2.5 hours. It's great. So please check that out. I also enjoyed Nina Simone with Little Girl Blue. Some great jazz, some great soul. Her playing is fantastic. And this is, I believe, one of her first albums. And so many songs on here are just beautiful. I did cry to this album, so please check that out too. In terms of the worst, I had to go with Alternative Trap by Lucky. There were a few albums here that weren't super great that I could have went with, but I chose this one because I feel like I know where I like Lucky. I like where he went eventually with his music, and this is a good example of like his original sound. But a lot of it is very amateurish, like the rapping, the production, all sounds very like. It has ideas, but it's still very basic. I also feel like there are just some beats on here that are just not good. Like, they're very of the time. They're very, like, I think it's, like, 2011-ish when it came out, 2013. And they sound of that time. They sound very dated. And so the sound that he's doing now, of course, is much more, like, of the time, but especially like even Watch My Back, which came out 4 years after, sounds way more current than this does. And then some more notes. I did listen to a lot of abstract hip hop this month. I went through all of Milo and Rap Ferraro's catalog, some Open Mike Eagle as well, which was good. A lot of Quelle Chris too. In terms of music that dropped this month, I listened to the new Clipping album, which was good. It definitely not my favorite of theirs, which was a little disappointing, but I went back and I re-listened as the months went on, and I enjoyed some songs too. And then Playboy Cardi with Music is a great album as well. I enjoyed it not as much as some of the projects here, but there are some great songs in that, man. Like, I love Toxic, I love K-pop. Those are some of his best songs, but it's just so long. And unfortunately, this was a month where a lot of things kind of shrunk over time. Like the two albums you see here, Body High by Lucky and Silence is Loud by Nia Archives, began as like 8 to 9 out of 10, and they've kind of shrunk down to 7s and 6 or 7s. So they've gone down a fair bit. I still enjoy them, but nowhere near as much as I did before, and that was kind of a trend with this month, especially for some reason. Then in terms of how do I keep track of things, I have a big spreadsheet, which I have right here. That's a notes I'm using to kind of track what I listened to. So each day that I listened, I would track it here with the name of the album, the artist, the year, what I rated it, three genres, and then if it was a recommendation by someone, I also had my top 5 albums and songs on the side, so I could keep track of like what I enjoyed. I try not to change it too much post that month, so I try to keep everything very of that time as like kind of a time capsule of like what did I enjoy at that month. However, there were some like that come up eventually that one came out of the blue and just shot at my rankings, like Joni Mitchell Blue, that I did kind of change that for, of like, okay, this is my favorite of the month, so I have to put it on here. And I did also make a big chart of all my albums. There are 4 missing from here. I don't care enough to like find them and see what I'm missing, but a lot of these here, like some ones that seem kind of lower are still like high ratings. Like you can look down there at like the 10th row and stuff and see a lot of 7s, and we'll get into my ranking eventually, like how I rate things. But I didn't like to make this. I began it at the start of the year thinking, oh, it'd be fun, and then it was not fun. Then we go into April. This was a great month for the music. It had a lot of highs and a lot of lows, which I'll get into, but the big highs here are Poses by Rufus Wainwright. I got recommended this. They said it sounded like Cameron Winter. The vocals, it's who he gets compared to a lot, and it definitely does. It sounds like a little bit of different styling in terms of the production and stuff like that, but it's a beautiful album. So many great songs like Grey Gardens and Shadows and Greek Song are all great. One Man Guy, oh my god, please check this one out. It's my second favorite of the year that I listened to. And then we have Gene Remover with Revenge Seekers. This came out this month too, like right at the start, and it is fantastic. It's very like overwhelming, and the production is so intense throughout it, but once you get into the world that it's making, it's just a fantastic project. I really enjoy the direction that she's going with her music, and I'm excited to see what she does next and how she transforms her sound from here. It's not my favorite one of hers. I still think that is Census. It might be Frailty. I don't know. All of her albums are just great to me, but I really enjoyed this one a lot more than I was expecting from hearing the first single in JR. But Dancing with Your Eyes Closed, man, one of the best songs ever. Then we get on to the worst album I heard the whole year, which might be surprising to some people. Zen, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, because this was a recommendation too. Whack World by Tierra Whack. I did not like this one, unfortunately. The whole kind of theme of it is every song is a minute long, like almost exactly a minute long. And so I heard that and thought like, oh, it's gonna kind of be like each song is very rapid fire and filled with a lot of things, and like it's very dense, and it's gonna be like very unique and cool and wacky and like off the wall. And while it was silly, it was more like the gif you see here where it was like, she's so crazy, where it was a lot of basic ideas and songs put together that sounded more like a compilation than a cohesive set of ideas. Like, it didn't sound like she was trying to make something that was coherent. It was more just a bunch of ideas that were unfinished, stitched together. Like, there are intros to songs on this thing, I'm like, why are we wasting 15 seconds on an intro in a 1-minute song? You know, just get to the point, get to the song. Don't fade out the song. Don't just have it stop at like a random beat. Like, make these songs fit the 1-minute time slot more. I think that this idea has potential, of course, but did not go well here. So, like I said before, and like I showed previously, there's some big highs and big lows. Some more of the big highs include Forever How Long by Black Country New Road, Tale of Red Star by Pretty V, and Stem by Gabby Start. However, there were some lows here too, like 8 by Stray Kids. I did not like that one. And then there was a lot of Two Hollis this month for some reason. I don't know what the fuck I was on, but I listened to all of Two Hollis's albums this month, and I gave none of them higher than a 7. Like all of them were like good, but not great. So I don't know why I did it, but I like Cope a lot. Cope is one of my favorite songs by him. And Boy and 2 are pretty good albums. So now we get on to my kind of philosophy of how I rate things. So now we get onto my philosophy of kind of how I rate things, and I'm pretty positive overall when it comes to my rankings. You can see here that this is all my Rate Your Music rankings, I think I have 6,000 ratings from 2018 to now. So all of them are mainly 7 to 8 out of 10. I have some 9s too, but ever since this month began, I've definitely had them decrease, which we'll see in a second. My system is kind of I do something out of 10, but instead of doing 7.5 or 8.237, I've seen some people do four decimals. Absolutely not for me. I do a 7 to 8, because on some days it could be a 7, some days it can be an 8, and it just depends on my mood really and what I want to listen to. So I do a dash thing, so it's more flexible for me than a set in stone number that I have to go in and change, because despite what you'll see from these graphs here, I don't like the mathification of music. I don't want to have to boil things down to a rating or a number. Instead, for me it's more of a vibe of how I feel. So then we get on to May, and May had some pretty good albums as well. They were kind of shorter overall, and this is a trend we'll see when we start to get into summer, as I began to listen to shorter albums because I had way more to do somehow during the summer than during the fucking school year, which was crazy. But we begin with Billy Woods' new album. I'm not gonna say the name, I'm not Hive Mind, so don't worry. But this album is great. I love the concept of it. It's very interesting to hear about the Black experience and growing up in poverty through this lens of a horror movie. Every song on here, to me, they're not scary, but they're terrifying to think of. I'm not scared when I hear this on the edge of my seat, but I'm more disturbed. I'm geez, this is crazy to hear about, but it's not too dissimilar to what other people are saying in their albums. It's just presented in a different way. It's a different lens of it. And so many songs on here are just heart-wrenching. Lead Paint Test and Waterproof Mascara, two of my favorite songs from here. It's not his best in my opinion, but it's close to it. And then we have Kitchen with, I'm going to get the whole name for this, hopefully, because it's a long title. Blue, Healer, and Ugly Snowlight, Gray on Gray on Gray on White. Great album. I really love the riffs on this one. There are so many great small moments throughout here of just the guitar playing and how plucky things are. The song Blue Healer is great. I like Sea Glass Wish as well, and it's an album that's not afraid to relish in itself, if that makes sense. It takes its time, it's slow with things, it builds up, and it's not trying to just get everything out at once. So it's a great extended listen to slowcore indie rock style. Really do check this one out. Then we get on the worst. I hate to say it, guys, my goats are washed. This is Arcade Fire with Pink Elephant. It's bad. It's not good. It's, I think, the second lowest that I rated an album this year. And it's unfortunate because I love Arcade Fire. Funeral and The Suburbs are two of my favorites of all time. I grew up listening to them. They were the third band I ever listened to because my dad was playing them on the drive home from me in the hospital, you know? They mean a lot to me, and hearing them go out sad like this is unfortunate. I like their last album, I really love Everything Now, so even when people were saying, oh, they fell off, I didn't agree with it. This is the true moment it starts. It's electronic but subdued and like weird indie pop, but not in the same thing that they did before. It's like there's this amalgamation of these weird ideas that don't work together, and the cover art sucks too. Like I hope they do something else from here and they go back to more of like that indie rock sound as opposed to this, but like I don't know what they're doing here, man. It sucks. Some more notes for this month. There were a lot of great things that released in May, most notably Unmusic by Lucy Bedrock and Pinball 2 by Mike and Tony Seltzer. Both great, kind of like electronic-y, rappy albums here. Two different styles of that, but some very cool ones regardless. Some other great projects from this month was Fancy That by Pink Pantheress, What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, Remo Drive with Greatest Hits, and then Projector by Geese. All great albums from this month as well. And then I did listen to a lot of shorter albums. Like I said before, again, I had a lot of events this month. I went to like my students' graduation, and I started to get back into like the camp mode and stuff. So I had a lot less time this month and then the next two, so some things will be a little shorter. If you want to listen to some of the music that I listen to here as well, I definitely recommend the Daily Album Challenge playlist in the description. What I would do is when I listen to an album, I would take my favorite song from that album and add it to this playlist. Originally, I tried to have it be like the most representative of the album, but I got kind of tired of that and just went with my favorite. So hope you enjoy this. I want it to serve as kind of like a music repository, or like a place where you can like go and say, oh, just press shuffle and I'll find some songs. Same with the spreadsheet in the description. I hope you can find a use for that as like a music discovery thing. So feel free to check that out. It's on Spotify and Apple Music. One thing I forgot to mention too is all the titles for these, like June and stuff like that here, are the color that I think the month is. So like June, I feel like is a very like bright yellowy green here. So let me know if you disagree with my choices in the comments. We start off with Dove Ellis's To the Sandals, a great little piece of like indie rock-ish, more like indie pop, very subdued and very minimal. I did find this through Geese because they had this guy open for him at their tour, and so I wanted to get a head start and see what I was in for, and it was beautiful. It was great. The title track on here, as well as Jasmine, are both fantastic, and this little EP was like a great sign of what's to come in the future, which we'll get to that in December. Then we have Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones, which is just a great throwback album. Some good classic blues and rock here. I like this a lot more than I thought I would. In terms of the worst, this one wasn't even that bad at all. Suman and Slom with miniseries 2. I don't know anything about these people at all. This was a recommendation, so Lewis, sorry if you're watching this. I enjoyed some stuff on it. It had like a little bit more of like an R&B soul sound to it, especially that first track is cool, but nothing in this really stuck with me, and I haven't revisited it at all. I just don't think I'm a huge fan of like K-pop and that whole scene, so this and the Stray Kids one that I listened to just did not stick with me. Then we get to some more notes. There were a lot of really cool individual tracks here. Way Down by Robert Turman is one of my favorites of the year, as well as Bloodbath Dance by Kamo. That one live especially went off, and is one of my favorites of the year for sure. Even though both these albums they come from aren't like my favorites, I enjoyed these songs so much. Some other great ones that I heard this month was Remain in Light by the Talking Heads, Girl with Fish by Feeble Little Horse, and The Last American Hero by James Ferraro. All great ones, all very different. There was a really big variety in the kind of music that I heard this month, despite only doing three recommendations, so that was fun. There was some disappointing albums from this month, though, that I heard. Blush by Kevin Abstract and that whole group, like, I didn't love it. I like the stuff that Quad Echo was on, but I feel like a lot of it felt just trying to recapture that old sense and that old youth that they had in the Brockhampton era, and it didn't really pan out. I also don't know why Amir Van is back. I don't like that guy. And then the McKinley-Dixon album, Magic Alive, I just don't get it. I think it's like very bombastic and jazzy, but almost to like a Hamilton-ish degree. Like he hits some of those Lin-Manuel Miranda flows on here, and it makes my skin kind of crawl. It's like just very like theater kiddie, but not in a good way. And this is coming from someone who likes Hamilton. I enjoy Hamilton a lot, but I don't really want to listen to it in this context here. There's some cool stuff on here, but it just sounds a little too like theatrical and overblown for my liking. There's some good stuff on this one, but it's the more subdued jazzy parts that I enjoy. Then we have my big plug, which I'm so excited for. On the 23rd, so on Friday, which hopefully this will come out before then. Please let it happen. I'm releasing my album Keep the Doctor Away, which is 12 tracks, one based around each month of the music that I listen to, that samples songs that I heard in each month. So like January samples 11 songs that I heard in that month, and the same continues for all 12 tracks. It will be on YouTube, it will be on Bandcamp, it'll be on Apple Music, SoundCloud, Spotify, really anywhere important that has music, it will be there. So please check it out. It's one of my favorite things that I've made in my whole life. I think it is my favorite. It's like dance music. It has a little bit of EDM in it, some drum and bass, some house stuff, especially things that I've never really released before. So very experimental, and I hope you enjoy it. And again, the link for that will be in the description. Even before it releases, I'll have the link down there to my DistroKid page. So now we get on to July here, and this was a great month too. Again, some shorter ones here than before, but two great projects from this year that I really enjoyed was Quadeca with Vanisher Horizon Scraper. He keeps outdoing himself on each album, and while emotionally I Didn't Mean to Haunt You affected me more, I feel like this one is really his like magnum opus and like a coming to form. It's a thesis for all that he's done before, and I love the concept. I love how it sticks to the sound, and it's just so well produced throughout that I can see his growth just continuing to go from here. It's great live too. He puts on an amazing live show. Then we have Caroline with Caroline 2. This is like a collective, I think it's like 11 people, 12 people, all from the UK, and some beautiful folk here, some beautiful experimental. It's like post-folk almost, and how they mess with the time signatures, math folk, one might say. But it's very post-rocky, where it all kind of collapses in on itself each song. And there are a few times here where you have like a cohesive, strong song structure, but a lot of it is like playing that is out of time with each other, but it all coincides with it very well. It's fantastic. Then, unfortunately, I hate to do my guy Vince Staples like this, but I have FM as my worst of this month. It was just not what I was expecting, and most of that comes down to I don't really like the production here by Kenny Beats. It sounds very like dubsteppy and electronic in a like darker, heavier way, a more like metallic way, and it doesn't fit the theme here of the cover of his lyrics and stuff like that. I feel like it should have had like a summery, bouncy vibe to it, like almost like a West Coast vibe, and instead it just sounds like basic trap beats throughout. So the production just sucks on here. It really let this down because I wanted this to be good. The Earl Sweatshirt feature though is great. It's the best song on here. Then we get to some more notes from here. There was a lot of cool experimental rock that I heard this month. The Zach Hill album on the right, Face Tat, and then Yahweh Nailgun as well were both great. I'm seeing them live in May, which I'm super hyped for. I did also hear albums by people like Hella and Godcaster and things like that, which weren't great, but they continued on that kind of trend, and this did get me back into Death Grips, so thanks for that. Here's kind of when I began to go through the like main rate your music charts as well. I just went to the all-time list, and I went through ones that I hadn't heard yet, things like Dummy by Portishead, the Charles Mingus album, a lot of Talk too, and we'll get into this more as well when we get to August. But there were a lot of cool things that I found here that I wouldn't have otherwise. I was kind of disappointed by the Portishead project, though. I didn't really like it that much. I loved It Can Be Sweet, but that's really the only song that stuck with me, unfortunately. Now we get to the data. Now we get to the data here. This is the amount of each rating that I gave out this year. Again, we have the individual numbers and then the ranges here. So as you can see, I mainly gave things out to 7s. That was kind of the like average one for me. A 7 in my philosophy is like, it is good and I will return to it, but it's not super special. A 6 is where it starts to get more like average, and then I kind of do have a curve of mine where a 5 is like quote unquote not great for me. There are some in the worst section that you'll see are like 5s out of 10. 3 and 4 are ones that like I will never return to again type things. I don't think I've listened to like a 1 out of 10 album in a long time because I just turn it off and I don't listen to it if I hate it that much. But a lot, like the bell curve here is very, very sharp when it gets to that kind of mid-range, which it has gone down from what it was on the Rate You Music chart. So this year I was a little more negative, I guess you could say, but more like realistic and trying to spread out my ratings. I also have the ratings for each month as well. You can see the trend here. I was really surprised to see April as low as it was because I have two albums there that are like 9 to 10s, but I do also have 2 that are like 3s and 4s as well. So I guess that kind of makes it go lower. But each month again was around that like 7 out of 10 range. And September is way higher for some reason. I don't know why it is, because from that month there are some things that stuck out to me, but not more than April in terms of the highest highs. So it was really intriguing to see that one be the highest. I think it was just the most consistent. Then we get to August, which was a fairly highly rated month as well. My favorite from that month was Lift to Experience with the Texas Jerusalem Crossroads, which is a great cover art. That's how I found it, is like in every video of like the worst art for your albums that you've ever seen. They're like, Lift to Experience, oh this cover sucks, it doesn't sound like the album at all. And it doesn't sound like the album, or like look like the album sounds, but I kind of like that. And I think the cover is great. The songs here are awesome. They like border the line between religious satire and true worship music. And I'm not religious myself, but there were a lot of moments on here where I felt the power that something like this could have to someone who is. The story behind this is great too. There's a lot of great moments here. Down with the Prophets is one of my favorite songs from this, so check this one out if the cover intrigues you. And then we have Earl Sweatshirt with Live, Laugh, Love, which is not his best album, but it is great. There's so many great moments here. It's very reflective, very self-reflective. It's very personal, and especially Exhaust. God, that song is so good. I cried to that so much this year. Exhaust is one of my favorites, and there's so many songs on here that fit well into his catalog as like instant classics that I think this will be one of my most replayed throughout the next year or so. In terms of my least favorite, this is a little bit of a weird one to be my least favorite, but we have Gabe Hernandez with Sortilege. I'm not quite sure how to say it. I think it's French, so I don't like it. But this album is kind of like in that same vein as like a Billy Woods or an Elucid, which I normally very, very much enjoy, but the production on here is just not up to par of those albums. There's some cool beats on here, like the beat on Mondo Cane is pretty good, but then you get songs like War, which wastes a great verse by Billy, with a terrible beat. It's like one of the worst beats I've heard this whole year. Like, I don't know what they were thinking in the studio with those horns and the drums on it. It's just terrible. And there are so many moments on here that are almost good, but just don't live up to that. And his rapping is nice. Like, there are some good lyrics on here, but overall it just kind of sounds dime a dozen. There's not really a lot that stands out in terms of his performance. It's like kind of a more monotone doom sounding voice here. So I see the potential, I just need better production here. Then we continue on with more Rate Your Music core and stuff from the charts. A list of things that I heard, especially at the start of the year, was like the Silver Mountain Zion album, Elliott Smith with Either Or, Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, and then the two you see on the screen, Leaves Turn Inside You by Unwound, and Vespertine by Bjork, which I enjoyed these two a lot on the screen. They're some of my favorites of the year for sure. I also listened to some albums that have some of my favorite songs of all time on them. Somebody That I Used to Know by Gautier is on this album, and the whole project itself is pretty good. It's not the best, but I like his sound a lot. And then we have Lost Cause by Beck, which is on this album called Sea Change. Great album. I have it on vinyl now, and I have it on CD. It's just very nostalgic for me because I listened to Lost Cause so much when I was a kid because my dad was a big fan of the song. And now we get onto genres. It's really interesting to look at the types of genres that I'd listen to because I felt like I went out of my comfort zone a lot during this month. But looking at this, like, yeah, I listen to a lot of indie rock, a lot of abstract hip hop. That's not news for me. How I did this is I gave each album 3 tags of genres, and these were the ones that were the most common. So overall, I had around like 1,200 tags throughout it here, and this is just the ranking of the ones that were the most. So again, indie rock, abstract hip hop, all that is at the top. I'm surprised that there wasn't more folk on here, but a lot of it is kind of with the singer-songwriter indie vibe of it. So I think that's why it counts. And then you see Christmas music all the way at the bottom. We'll get to that. But this is pretty much par for the course, like what I expected. I did get a few more like electronic albums on here, a bit more alt country than past years. So that was really where my taste expanded. And then what I went through all of the genre tags, all 1,200 of them, and I tried to categorize them based on the like main genre they came from. So obviously a lot of rap, obviously a lot of rock. Pop is like a general term for it, and some stuff could go under rock too, but I'm surprised that one was the second highest. Electronic also counts things like ambient and plunderphonics and stuff like that, so that was pretty high. And I'm surprised folk and country weren't higher, but most of them are paired with like an indie rock tag of some kind, so that's probably why. And some more soul, jazz, and miscellaneous stuff at the end as well, but again, this was pretty much expected for me. Then we get on to the best month, apparently, September. And I was saying, like, I don't know why September is the highest. I do know why. It's because these two are here. We have Geese with Getting Killed. Shout out to Geese. They're my new favorite band right now, like, of the past year. Like, they're my biggest obsession. I tell everyone I know about Geese. I play Geese for my kids in this classroom, you know? So this album definitely affected me, and I didn't love it on first listen. Like, I heard it, and I was, like, a little disappointed. I was like, I thought they would do more with this sound, but the more I listened to it, the more it hit. It was like a slow release right into my veins, and it's one of the albums I played the most this year just because it was so infectious. Like, I would do my one of the day, and then I would just go back to Geese. Then we have MJ Lenderman's self-titled debut. I put this off for a while because it's an hour long, which isn't that long, but I just didn't have time. But I wish I had listened to it sooner. Left Your Smile is one of my favorite songs of all time, and I mean that. It's in like my top 20 now, I think. It's a fantastic song. I love the vocals and just the layering of it all. And every song on here is beautiful. It's sprawling. It sets these great landscapes and tells these great stories throughout. And I hope he comes back to this kind of like sprawling sound eventually, because it's just so beautiful on here. Please check this one out. It's his best work by far. In terms of the worst, this one again isn't that bad. It's more like experimental and risk-taking, but it doesn't really pay off, unfortunately. This is The Loopers with Dolly Ain't Dead. There's some cool ideas here. There's some good songs. Like, I like Baby Kids a lot, but songs like Fuck Cigarettes are just bad, and I don't really get them. Again, a lot of experimentation on this project, but it's very hit or miss for me. So like I said, this was the highest rated month overall. There were some great things on here, like Just Got Back from the Discomfort, We're Alright, like Magnolia Electric Co. I also enjoyed New Old Dog by Twine, which I mentioned before, and Rooster Slipped by Rooster, who goes by Good, or Good, I guess, in Drain Gang. And then I heard a lot of newer albums this year that were pretty popular, like in the mainstream kind of thing, with SD Kid, mainly. He was a pretty cool listen, and then he like blew up. I didn't even see him on TikTok before I listened to it, but it was pretty good. And then Black British Music by Jim Legacy is infectious, and I keep coming back to it nowadays too. Like, I listened to it a ton yesterday just for no reason. Like, it's a great album. Both of these are pretty cool as well, and it's cool to see like that the mainstream, quote unquote, right now has some cool stuff going on in it in terms of rap. Then in terms of the years, oh my god, I'm a sucker for new music is what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna leave it at that. I mainly listen to 2020s music, things from the past 5 or so years. I thought I had listened to more stuff from previous years. I really did, but a lot of the things that I heard were from the past 5 years. Only one thing from the 1950s, I think that was the Nina Simone album, and then just from there it's like, and keep this trend line in mind because it's very similar to one we see in the 2020s as a whole. 2025 accounts for like a third of all the albums that I heard, and then the rest are kind of there too. But 110 from this year is pretty crazy. I do like new music for the most part. I think it's just the mixing and mastering of it sticks out more, you know, the loudness wars and all that. But I really enjoy new music, and I think it's something that I feel like I have to listen to sometimes to keep up with like all the stuff that comes out in the zeitgeist of the culture and stuff. But I did go out of my way to hear stuff from the past. I promise you that. And for some last stats, 29% of the albums that I listened to were from 2025. Damn. And 57% were from the 2020s overall. Then we get to October, which had some really cool albums as well. Some of my favorites were Death Consciousness by Have a Nice Life. Very soul-crushing, depressing music here. I listened to this one on a drive to LA too, and it didn't really suit that as much as the one by Cindy Lee did, but it was just super, you know, abrasive and sad and crushing, and I got a great chance to kind of just soak it all in when I was driving. It's a fantastic listen. And then we have Nourished by Time with the Passionate Ones. I didn't love this one at first, but the more I listened to it and the more I played it like in my classroom and just around my house, it's such a fun album. It's such a great album, and there's so many tracks from here that are super infectious and super catchy. He has a way of just making it like hit, you know. And I saw him live, and it really made this go from like a good album to one of my favorites ever. In terms of the worst, I don't really have much to say about this one. It's Owen Pallett with Heartland. This was kind of pitched to me from what I saw as like a Cameron Winter-esque thing, which you know I'm in the market for, of course. And so I listened to it. It was way more like orchestral and kind of like almost kitschy at points with how classical it sounded, that I could never really get into it. I saw like Indie-tronica as part of the tag, and I wanted a lot more indie than I got, but it was very chamber poppy in a way that was not appealing to me, so didn't love this one. I know a lot of people do, and I like the storytelling of it, but just one that I didn't really get into. In terms of the notes, I went to a lot of concerts this month. The list of ones that I went to included Nourished by Time, I saw Dijon, and I saw Blade, and then I saw Geese at the very end of the month on Halloween, which was a great concert, one of my favorites of all time. I also listened to a lot of the tour openers, or who I thought would be there. Like Jella is on the right side. I tried to listen to some more Drain Gang to get into that, and then Theodorian as well. I thought was gonna open one of the concerts in November, but he didn't and stuff. So I just found new music that way, which was fun. But the tour openers are some of my favorite ways to find new music, because if it's anything like who's gonna be playing on the tour, I'm probably going to like it. And then I heard a lot of great classics as well. Yola Tango with Painful, I found that just through YouTube. And then D'Angelo with Voodoo. I'm sad I hadn't listened to this sooner. Rest in peace to him. But it was great, and it got me to listen to The Roots as well, which was an awesome album. Things Fall Apart. So some great classics here that I heard this month. This was one that felt like a really highly rated month for me too. Okay, so I was going to have a whole section here about like new artists that I discovered this year through this thing, but I realized I kind of already talked about them all already, so it'd be kind of redundant. So instead, take this fun video I got from the Geese concert as consolation. Okay, bye!
You've been talking to you know. You can talk to him, you can talk to me too.
Now we get into November, which had some really interesting albums that I heard this month. One of my favorites being C418 with Minecraft Volume Alpha. I had heard most of these songs just like playing the game and like in my life and in YouTube videos and stuff, but it was cool to sit down and like take it all in and feel myself in the world. So great album. The soundscapes here are awesome, and it gets groovy in some parts too. And then Cities of Eve with the Revolving Star Archive and Practice 002. His best since Man Plays the Horn, I think. It's a great kind of compilation of songs that he released from like 2021 until now, along with some ideas as well. It's not like a fully complete set of ideas and stuff. Like there are some times when you can see like, oh, this is unfinished in some parts, but it's super quality and it sounds beautiful. And a lot of the songs on here, like Still Shot and Patchwork Demo, are all fantastic as is. So please check this one out. It's one of his best for sure. In terms of the worst, I also didn't hate this one that much. I was kind of in a bad mood when I heard it, so that might be why. But Suffer by Funeral. I liked Funeral's other album from 2025 called Suicide Season a lot. It was way better than I expected for being like a kind of like hyper poppy plug sound from someone I had never heard before. And this just kind of takes what it did before on Suicide Season and makes it worse, less abrasive, less interesting, just kind of more run-of-the-mill trap music. This album, again, not terrible at all, just I think Suicide Season is a lot better for what this is trying to do. Sorry if you see any changes in the camera or anything like that. Every single thing that I was using to record this video, my camera, my computer, my phone, all died like at the same time. So I'm back like an hour later to complete this. Then we get into some more notes for November. I went to a lot more concerts here too. I saw Bar Italia, I saw Quadeca, and then I saw Earl Sweatshirt. So I went to 7 concerts in the span of like a month time. And again, I listened to a lot of the openers here. Cleed Strap with What Might Happen, and Voyeur with the Burden of Desire. And then I put on here, there's some disappointing rap albums, but I realized a lot of things that I was really anticipating came out this month. In terms of the disappointing, we had things like the Danny Brown album Stardust, which I didn't really enjoy. There were a few good songs on this, like I love Copycats, but the rest of it just kind of didn't really stick with me as much as I thought it would, and I liked the idea behind it, but not really executed very well. And then we have Mercy by Arm & Hammer, which I was surprised with how little I've returned to this. Like, I didn't really love it on first listen, and even after a few listens, I didn't enjoy it as much as I did with Haram or anything else by Arm & Hammer. Just the production by Alchemist here is super flat and really uninteresting, especially compared to Haram, which was super dynamic and changing, and this just sounds like a bunch of loops. Like, it's the critique that a lot of people have had for him for years that I'm now seeing. It's like just a bunch of loops with nothing really interesting occurring here. So Haram is great. This one is not, unfortunately. But there were some great rap albums that I did listen to from this month. Rap Ferrara and Kenny Siegel with The Night Green. I forget what the rest of it's called, but that album is fantastic. And then the new Navy Blue album is very cool as well. It's definitely not his best, but it's one of the best rap albums I heard this month. And then we have my Wrapped. I just wanted to share it somewhere here. Again, I'm on Apple Music, so I made all of these myself, but everything here is pretty par for the course. I love heavy metal. It's my favorite album of all time. Geese is up there a lot too. And then nothing really out of the ordinary here. I just wanted to shout out Rufus Wainwright for getting in my top 4, which was surprising, but I did listen to him a lot this year. So shout out to all these songs. If you want one song to take from this past year, Love Takes Miles, best song of all time, confirmed. And then lastly, we have December. Very interesting month for sure. One of my favorite albums of the year is Dove Ellis with Blizzard. Again, To the Sandals was kind of a precursor to what we get here with this very smooth and lush sounding indie rock, almost. It's much more indie sounding with some pop parts to it, but it combines a lot of different genres and influences here. It's very similar to like a Jeff Buckley and that like smooth contemporary pop sound, but with a good backing of like indie sounds to it too. And him live with this is so good. You have to see him live, or at least watch his live sets on YouTube. And then we have Sigaros with, I'm gonna butcher this, man, Agaitis Björn. I don't know how you say it, but it's a great album. I really love just the sound of it throughout, because the lyrics, I don't know what the hell they're saying, but it's beautiful. It's super lush. It's super bright. It feels warm and comforting despite it being like a very cold album, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know if it's just because it's Icelandic that I think it's cold, but it sounds warm and inviting and very comforting. And there's so many parts on here that are just so dense and layered, and I'm like, wow, this is incredible. So I'm glad I got to this eventually. I'd put it off for a while, but one of the best post-rock albums I've heard ever. And then we get to the Christmas stuff. The worst one that I heard this month, and one of the worst I heard of the year, is The Killers with Don't Waste Your Wishes, which surprised me because Boots is on this album, and it's a Christmas song that I have heard throughout my entire life, because me and my dad are both fans of The Killers. Like, I love Day and Age. I love all the stuff off Hot Fuss, I forget what it's called, but that album was great. This one, though, is like a compilation of all the Christmas stuff that they've made, and it just kind of stinks. There's a lot of corny Christmas stuff on here. Like, it's not doing covers, it's all original stuff, but it's all like, oh, I had Christmas in the desert in like Vegas and Joshua Tree and stuff like that. And I get the idea, but Boots is really the only song that I will ever return to on here. It's a great song, but everything else just kind of stinks. And there's a Jimmy Kimmel feature on here for some reason. So check out Boots. It's a really interesting song and like a really weird Christmas song, but the rest of it's not very good. Speaking with Christmas, though, I did listen to 12 Christmas albums leading up to the 12 Days of Christmas. I'll just run through them all here. Tyler, the Creator, the Grinch album. George Winston with December, very great piano-led, very classical music. Mariah Carey with Merry Christmas, just a classic as well. The Miracles and Smokey Robinson with The Season for Miracles. Sabrina Carpenter with Fruitcake, not great. Tony Braxton with Snowflakes, one of my favorite. Very surprising with how great it was. The Killers Don't Waste Your Wishes, which is bad. Stevie Wonder with Someday at Christmas, which was surprisingly not great too. Low with Christmas, which I didn't know Low or Bright Eyes had a Christmas album, but they were both very good. Kenny G with Miracles, and then Ray Charles with The Spirit of Christmas, which is one of my favorites of all time. So many great songs on here. Shout out to Lampoon for putting me on this one here. I got really sick of Christmas music by the end, so I'm glad I went off on a good note with the Ray Charles album. And then this was the month that I listened to the most amount of albums. I got a lot here because I did my Christmas stuff, and then I did a bunch of stuff during those days as well. So I listened to 6 extra albums on top of all the ones that I had before. So that's like 37 albums in a month, which is way higher than the rest of them. And lastly, I just want to share the best albums and songs that I heard all year. This list is subject to change, of course, as all things are, so it's pretty loose, but 3D Country tops both of the things here. All the albums I talked about, but some songs from albums I didn't mention. We have Fool by Adrian Lenker is great. Do You Wanna by Astrid Sonne has been one of my favorites since the very start of the year. And then Blunt Force Trauma by Elias Ronenfeld is really awesome too. I think that's been the most played song that I've heard since I listened to that album. I think on Halloween I heard it. So great. Please check it out. Hi guys, I'm editing this right now, and I kind of realized the outro that I made here didn't really express like why I did this in the first place, and if I would do this again, which was kind of the whole thing that I wanted to go out on. So the main reason that I did this was because, again, like I wanted to find new music and like force myself to do that. I found myself at the end of the year like getting really stale in what I had found and not really enjoying a lot of music. And I think the reason was because I was just surrounding myself by things that I was comfortable with in a way. Like I knew I had this like 5 playlists that I just looked at, and everything from there I was cool with. I would discover like some new albums like here and there and stuff, but none of them really cracked my big rotation. And they would just go into this big playlist that I had. Like I have 5 playlists that have like 1,000 songs on them, and I would go through those and skip a bunch of them that I didn't like anymore and stuff. And I was getting kind of jaded with how I listened to music. And while I was on that trip I talked about at the very start in Palm Springs, I came to a realization that like I just need to find new stuff to listen to and to enjoy, because right now like I am not in a good place like emotionally or like mentally, and I need something to kind of keep me grounded. And what keeps me grounded is music. You can tell by all my paintings in the back here, my vinyl, my geese poster, you know, stuff like that, that like music is what makes me like live. I wouldn't be here without it. And I felt like I was at a place where I didn't have something that kept me grounded and kept me whole and kept me stable. It was partially thanks to this guy right here, Cameron Winter, that I'm here today doing this. But I really wanted something that would keep me doing something, like to motivate me to work towards. And I think that's what this did for me. And the question of like, would I do this again? I don't know. I don't know if I need to. Now I'm in a place where like I'm comfortable just like going back to what I had before and what I listened to, and back to my playlist and stuff like that, because I know that I have a good source of where I can get music from. I have a base now of a ton of stuff that I know and that I enjoy and that I listen to. And I found both what I enjoy and what I don't like. Like I know now what I don't like, what I don't think is great. And I know now, again, what I love. Like I rediscovered what I love about music, and I think that's what did this for me. So if I'm ever in a place where I need a project again, or I need something to do, then I might bring it up again. But I encourage you guys, even if you're not in a bad mental state, which I hope you're not, but like even if you're not there, try this out. It's a great project to do. Again, I know I called it a challenge, but it's really not a challenge. It's like listen to something a half an hour, 40 minutes a day or so, and really just fill that time with something productive. I always felt like I was productive when I was trying to listen to new music. And so even if I was playing Terraria or Minecraft or whatever, I knew that I was being productive. I knew that I was doing something by experiencing art. And that kept me wanting to be productive. That kept me wanting to do more things. And I'm really happy with it. So thank you guys for getting through this whole video. It's way longer than I expected this to be, so I apologize for that. But again, all the links to things are in the description below, to the spreadsheet, to the playlists, to the music that is coming out soon, Keep the Doctor Away, and to end it off, here's a snippet. See you guys later.